You've decided that you want to stop drinking alcohol, right? You've got the decision and you're jumping on the deep water. I don't want to drink anymore. It doesn't serve me, whatever the reason is. So, what I'm going to do is now I'm staying sober, dry, whatever the decision is. And then something happens. Maybe a week later, maybe 2 weeks later, maybe a month later, or maybe you come up to 2 months or 3 months, bang, you're drinking again. Why? What's happened? There is something which happened. And as many people don't even know what it is because they don't understand the mechanism. They don't understand the basics. Not everyone has a chance to go to some therapies, or not everyone has a chance to speak someone which has some kind of a knowledge which I can actually save you in perspective to tell you that you should be aware of this or you should be aware of that. Technically speaking, everyone is thinking, I'm gonna stop drinking, so I'm not touching alcohol, everything will be fine. The trouble is, you have to fight with cravings, right? But the cravings are basically speaking nothing else but the creation of the triggers. Yes, there is something like alcohol triggers. Now, if you go into perspective of cold turkey because you have to stop, or you stop because you don't have a choice to stop, and sometimes in life we have something like I don't have time to prep myself up for something, or I'm not aware of something. Not everyone can go to some therapies, or depends on the situation is. Let me put a quick basic example, which I love it. Let's say that you're working the AM shift, your partner, husband, wife, whoever that is working, let's say, um, PM shift. So you kind of switching places in the house. Let's say you've got kids, so you don't have a chance to go to any therapy, or your life it gets so busy, time wise, that you actually unable to do it. There's plenty of people like this with that kind of a situation. Or maybe there is something like you really really want to do it yourself, right? I mean, you're hoping that you maybe not as bad yet, so you don't need any therapy, and you're thinking, I'm strong enough that I can do it myself. But the trouble is, when you jump on that and you don't have that kind of a basic knowledge about, for instance, the triggers itself, which they will be leading you to cravings, then that's how you're failing. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna discuss today absolutely everything what we possibly can have with the cravings in perspective, our triggers, and what the triggers are, what do they do to us, and how you can kind of prepare yourself for something. I know and I am aware that you're not going to be able to cover every possible angle, but if you're going to be able to touch the basics, so then you will have a chance to understand that, let's say, this crisis happening, but you might start um, drinking again. I know as well that the thing is, everything depends from individual, because let's say even if you understand the cravings, you understand the triggers, still on the end is mano a mano, which will be definitely the battle against yourself, because technically speaking, you, as in me, or anyone who's got any issue with the alcohol, will be the last line of defense. But if you're gonna understand the triggers, you're gonna understand the cravings, there is a much much bigger chance to avoid it or have a close miss, so you're not gonna touch this alcohol, rather than just you're gonna start falling back on it, and you're gonna be thinking there's something wrong with me, or maybe I'm some super turbo alcoholic that it's too late for me, which technically speaking is not true. In many cases we don't understand something because we're not being aware of something, and that's why later, unfortunately, this battle inside of our head and all these negative thoughts and all that pressure of us just failing and failing and failing can kind of come up with kind of a depression anxiety thing, which will be keeping you down and in that drinking mode, where actually maybe if you will knew some stuff, you will know how to prepare yourself, and maybe you can come up with some kind of escape plan before it happens, and then you're gonna be away from that drinking as you're planning to before. You will come up to the point when you becoming stronger and stronger later, and you know what to do and you know what not to do, and definitely not touch it, not to be, not to do. So that will keep you definitely longer in that sobriety, which will create a stronger and stronger and better foundation, which is not going to be easily shaken by anything, because you're going to understand, see, and know how to react. With the triggers itself, I will look definitely on two sides of the triggers: the internal ones and external ones. Internal ones, which is going to be everything which is going to be like coming up most of the time from you, right? So anything which is related basically with you, with your situations, with anything which is around you. The external one is anything which is outside of your kind of a control. So, the stuff will be there, something will be happening somewhere, and you just kind of are gonna be like kind of the victim of the situation, rather than you try to get yourself into the point of being there or being around of anything which will might kind of push you or give you some kind of a little tiny hope of drinking in your head. Because we need to remember that people which they addicted with alcohol have a problem, with any addiction. It's just like, this is majority cases of deception, lying to yourself, justifying anything. And it's like typical saying that, yeah, one beer is better than 10, right? It's not like I drank 10 beers, I did only one. So that's more healthy position rather than being in at 10 beers. But still, one beer a day, in the let's say the distance of a very long time, it might create exactly the same damage as the 10 beers which you've done from time to time. So you see, everything is just the way of different perspective and looking on the things from a different angle, and understanding yourself better. So as I'm saying, the internal ones is something which is closer to you, and the external ones is something that's like out of your control, but at least you have a chance to react, right? So let's get close to it. With internal ones, you're gonna have something like negative thinking. This is the very simple one. You come in from work, for instance, or you had a fight with someone, and then you need to release your stress somewhere, right? So you need to do something, because I need to just like, used to, let's say, you had a problem, and the best solution was just what? Let's have a drink, right? Let relax itself. Let me maybe try to forget about any problem. And the same is with positive thinking. When you're happy, let's celebrate something, right? How many times you had a situation that you've been saying like, okay, I bought a new car. Oh, we have to, do a little drink over it. So, to celebrate it, right? Or you have a new member of a family, right? So we have to do some little kind of a party. Or I moved out the houses, or just bought my house, or anything like that. Or the stuff which is negative, from the negative thinking, it gets you used to was getting you to the drinking or positive way, because you need to celebrate. So you buy it, like champagne is for the winners and all the stuff like that. So these are the things which they're gonna be put it into the internal ones. So you see, anything which is happening around your little tiny life, you trying to process it and use the alcohol as a part of your life. And these are the internal ones. It's very easy to do it, right? The same specifically like we have them habits like Friday, the end of the week, right? I finish all the week of hard work. I deserved it. I can drink. So that's another one of internal ones. Another one is, for instance, is Saturday, right? So Sunday I don't go to work. It's fine. I can have a little bit more. There you go. Nice weather, bad weather, anything like that. Anything which you turning into the momentum of happiness, sadness. You need to release the stress. You need to release the tension. So far, you've been using alcohol for this. So now you have to find the way to release it in a different specifics. So by doing it something else, doing something which is not damaging to you. So it's not gonna be the alcohol. Same as when you're tired, when you hungry, for instance. Many people do that too. I mean, just going into the fridge. I'm hungry. I'm just not like feeling that I want to cook today. And you grabbing a beer, right? Unfortunately, in alcohol there is some nutritions. You're not gonna find any fantastic ones, I would say, with a very good quality, but it's still there. So that's why you have sometimes, like, if you look back in the past, that you could actually drink nearly all day long, you know, and you didn't actually eat much, and it was okay. It's just because there is some nutrition in alcohol. But unfortunately, when you have that wine, beer, whatever that is, they heavy on calories, and then you have a tendency not to eat much, or maybe you ate something and then you throw up later. Unfortunately, it's just because your body tried to get rid of the alcohol first, and the food maybe irritated your stomach in that perspective, whatever that was. I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter. Or maybe you had a situation that you ate first and then you start drinking, and then you've been intoxicated so much, so you actually start throwing up, and you actually saw everything you ate earlier on. I mean, all them things will be coming up to internal. So anything which happens very close in your life, it has very much with specifics with you, that will be coming up to internal triggers, which so far you've been using alcohol to release all that tension, to relax yourself, to any other things like that. And then when you get in on the sobriety, or you cut in, specifically for the people which they, just going from day to day, let's say it was Sunday, you had a bad drinking, finally you decided, I don't want to do it anymore. And then from Monday, you try to stop everything. But the trouble is, you've got so much trained within the years doing this, that them triggers will stay there. And that will be taking you to that kind of what you've been thinking so far was the happy land, because that is everything you know so far. So now when you try to change something, it unfortunately takes time. And it's going to be always that kind of a internal battle with you, that you shouldn't do it. But, well, maybe I was saying to myself, I'm going to start from this Monday, or maybe next Monday, maybe from Tuesday. And that constantly you start losing this little battle, because you were not being definitely aware of stuff like that. The external triggers are everything which I said on the beginning. It will be like, you just come up somewhere, or you are being part of something, and let's say you even did not plan any alcohol, not even drinking alcohol, but because of any kind of a flashbacks, I would say, something which is registered in your mind, you remember, and these triggers are like taking you back automatically to the memories you have, because you stored, right? Unfortunately, our brain works that way. When we're doing something repeatedly very much long, then it's very quickly to open them drawers which we have in capacity of our memory, and it takes us to these places, and we do understand them places because we've been there very often. So places in perspective, well, you can't go to the pub. That's a definitely trigger, and that's gonna be like triple, quarter, six to trigger for you, because one, the smell, the noises, the behavior, the people doing something, the sounds, all that will take you. Funny bit is, for instance, when you go to the shop, right? If you are freshly, decided not to drink, you quitting drinking, you're doing sobriety, dryness, whatever you want to do, you go into the shop and you're going into the or you're passing alcohol aisle. Ho ho ho, that's the biggest one, because you've been spending so much time when you've been buying alcohol yourself, right? Well, so let's face it, it wasn't the situation people have been buying for you. Majority cases, like 99.9%, you've been buying for yourself. So all that is triggers, and them triggers are take you to them situations, because let's put it this way, there will be something in a history, like on the beginning you start drinking, and before you got to the point that you actually cannot live without alcohol, and you're not actually on addiction mode, because on the beginning you just started it, then you have something like a kind of a, I don't want to use that word, but it's like good memories, because it wasn't any problems, or did not come up to any problems. All the problems start leading you, and taking you later and later from the usage, when it gets more heavy, more out of the control, if you can take it. I always been saying that there's one substance you're never going to be able to control, is actually alcohol consumption. It's something you cannot control. You get into more dependent, huge, 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 bigger amounts, and then suddenly you standing somewhere in the room, and you don't know what the hell just happened to me, and how did I get here. But that's what unfortunately happens with you. So the places, for instance, people, certain people which are being connected only because of the alcohol. That's another thing. That's going to be the huge trigger. Because you, for instance, getting to the point that you want to get sober, you want to get dry, you don't want to drink, you don't want to have nothing to do with the alcohol. But that person does see things different way. All right, they do see things different way. They don't want to stop drinking. They might not be in a place where you are. They definitely don't see nothing with them, or maybe they will have even the same problems, physical health wise, or you know anything like that. But still, they not in the point of awareness as you are, that you want to stop because it doesn't serve you. And some people could go like this to the end of their lives, and they will never see, even if there's going to be plenty of people around them to see how they actually falling down, but they never going to see themselves in that position. So that's pretty much individual stuff. But still, if you want to be in a place when you want to go away, so the places are places, people are people, and then all the other things around you, they will be happening. It might be the case that, let's say, you're 2 years away from drinking, right? And now let's say you're going to the restaurant somewhere because someone from your family has birthday, and you're going for some nice meal, and you take the menu card, you're looking into it, you've decided what you want to eat. But then you go into the section of, well, food means as well something to drink, right? And it could be like that you're gonna open the card, and inside will be like, for you, let's say, I don't want to drink any soda, right? Any sweet stuff, any juices, and then there's like a water and bunch of other alcoholic drinks, right? Could be like a martini, espresso, whatever you want to call it, whatever the drinks will be. So now that's another trigger. That's another trigger because people don't understand. It doesn't matter how long you're away from alcohol, you're always going to be vulnerable. But because you're understanding the patterns, and you're understanding when you're going to start drinking again, and trust me, you're going to be exactly coming very quickly to the place when you left it. And it doesn't matter how long is the distance since you stopped, because unfortunately our brain has some kind of a memory. We have a memory. If we've been kind of well, this is not something to be happy about, but let's say that you're doing something and you're very good at it, right? Even if it's damaging to you, then if you're going to stop doing something and you're going to recreate the situation that you will start doing that again, unfortunately you're going to be very fast and very quickly in a place when you left it, or maybe even better at it, which is not going to be very good if we're talking about alcohol consumption. So let's say you could drink certain amount of the alcohol, you're going to start drinking again because of the triggers, that goes to the cravings. Then you're going to start questioning yourself, and you're going to touch it. You're going to start thinking, yeah, it's fine. I'm 2 years away. One beer, what that could do to me. Yeah, you'll be surprised. Maybe on the beginning, you're going to try like controlling that situation, but later, you're going to be keep going closer and closer and closer to the place when you left it. And you're going to be very surprised, because then that will give you the kind of a thinking, okay, fair enough, no one's going to take that time when you did not drink away from you. But unfortunately, you kind of a feel inside, you know what? So it doesn't really matter. I've been 2 years away from it, 5 years away from it, and I'm drinking, like I just left it before I, start being sober, dry, or whatever. So that means, like, okay, I've got into my head that I did that distance, that time when I was out off. But getting back to it, it's like you're not trying to kind of train yourself again how to drink, because you know how to do that. So you're going to be thrown already in the deep water very quickly. And that is unfortunately coming up to all these triggers. So with the external ones, is more difficult because you cannot control whatever happens around you. It's not like at home that you can, if you have internal ones, then I've got something like, or maybe I can walk it off, or maybe I can go away from something very quickly, or maybe I can do something, go and get myself busy. In a place like, let's say, when you go into the restaurant, you have to spend that time with them people, because that is about, one of the person which has a birthday, so you've been invited. you got no chance to escape from that, right? So you have to play the game, unfortunately. And then this is the moment when you're gonna be, let's say, opening that card and you see that alcohol, and now is that decision time, 50-50, right? How you're gonna feel is very important. How you're gonna react is even more important. So that's why I recommend and I suggest to do some kind of a notes, especially on the beginning of your sobriety journey. Notes about how you feel, what you do, where something was taking you to, and so you have a chance later to reflect and hopefully put more strength to your actions, reactions, and anything like that. Because the decision is a one thing, and we coming up first on some kind of a motivation when we stop drinking. But the trouble is how long your motivation will take you to, how long you can stay motivated. It's very difficult, right? Because with sobriety, unfortunately, when you're gonna be having that first period where you are very excited about it, there's something new for you, but that becomes later like, it's a daily boring practice. And now your habits are more important rather than motivation. So you're building your habits, you're creating yourself. You get into the point that you know yourself, that you know how to, how you are reacting to something. The foundation, the beginning of what you're doing on the beginning is very important, because if that foundation is very strong, it's impossible to be shaked off, right? That big house you're building, and understanding your problems, understanding your triggers, knowing if they are internal, external, how it works, what I'm going to do, and understanding when you will end up, when you're going to start drinking again, is something which makes that basic benchmark value. And the stronger the value is on the beginning of that establishment, that creates later stronger house. So every time when you have something which is externally going through, you're going to be strong enough that you're not going to touch that alcohol. Or let's say, even if you're going to be very close to touch it, but you're not going to touch it. So later you're going to reflect on that and you will understand, yeah, okay, I survived it. I didn't do it. I felt very vulnerable. Maybe I felt weak, but I gave myself some kind of a credit, time. I fight it, because majority cases, that's what you're going to have. This is a 50-50 situation. You're deciding, I'm drinking, I'm not drinking. This is so close to it. Many people been failing after 20, 30, even 40 years of not drinking, because later they understood that they have not been in sobriety, but let's say they've been more like dry, because I tried to stay away from it. Last time I touched the alcohol, that was 10 years ago, and I've not touched it since. But the question is, do I understand myself? Do I know what I'm doing this for? Do I know what am I supposed to be aware of? Do I know what is my danger? Do I know my weak points? Because you're going to have some people, they have some weak points. So you have to strain them weak points, make them a bit stronger. Or if I have some weak points, maybe I have some stronger points, and I can use them stronger points to kind of support my weak points. Because not everyone's going to be like, Superman with everything and untouchable and invincible, that, after a certain time, I'm not going to be even bothered with something. No, that's not true. But because you have the understanding of the problem, you have the understanding what might happen to you, that's supposed to be your kind of a safety net. So even if you're going to be very close to failing, you still can do something, instead of just keep falling and then having big regrets that you did it. So this is one of the vital keys: understanding the triggers and knowing where they're taking you and how you react to them, and what you can do. Because this is not the question of how, this is more of question of what. How is not important, it's what I have to do to be in a place that I'm not going to drink. And once I understand what I have to do, I will figure out the way how later. And that's in majority cases, this will be kind of the answer to the problem. So with all them triggers and internal and external are very difficult to deal with. But once you understand them, once you know how to cope with them, once you know where they can be, happening, for instance, in perspective that you're going to see someone and you know that person drinks, right? So unfortunately, you have to avoid that person. In perspective that you don't want to be too close with them because you don't want to start drinking again because it will be very close to it. People sometimes try to convince other people that you say, I don't drink. What are you talking about? Come on, don't come up with this crap and this and that because they don't understand you. And the more time you're going to spend to try to convince them about your things, the more energy you're going to be wasting, unfortunately, because they don't sitting in your head. They don't see your situations, or maybe sometimes they seeing your situations, maybe they listening to what you said, but they still don't understand it because it doesn't affect them. It does not affect them completely, like closely to them, or maybe wherever you see the problem, they don't see the problem. For them it's normal, right? And it could be sometimes cultural things, because the different countries have a different cultures. Well, the drinking, if you look on the perspective of drinking alcohol, is all over the world, right? And there's a plenty of similarities, but you have like places when people drink completely different way. In one country you have something like people gonna be, let's say, going with them different styles of drinking, right? So you have the people which they and let's say uh, going to the point where they drinking slowly through the whole process of night, whatever they doing, or through the whole day. Then you have the people which they get to knock it very quickly. So everyone has a different styles. In some places, for instance, and region of the countries, let's say, people have like alcohol being majority cases like accustomed to something. When they celebrate something, they doing it. Like when they, it's like the kiddo got birth, they drinking. Someone pass away, so they need to do them ritual of goodbyes, and then later on they go on and they drink. So you know this is like pretty much with them combining of internal and external triggers when you could say no, but sometimes people are going towards the situation that you have the kind of a peer pressure, right? They're gonna be like kind of a pressurizing you to go to do that, even if you're gonna say you can't do it. So then they will say, like, yeah, it's fine, you just do it only one, you'll be fine, it's okay. Well, maybe it's okay for them because it's kind of a custom, but the question is that okay with me? you know because the end of the day you have to ask yourself the question, is this is what I want to do? I need to be selfish, and I was saying that very, 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 very often. You have to be selfish if you want to save yourself. So you have to look more over yourself. People which they drink in, they maybe not gonna be happy with that you don't want to drink on the beginning, but they will get over that. They always do, because at the end of the day they find someone else who they like to drink with, or they're gonna find a new kind of a drinking partner. And anyway, in perspective, like, if I cannot drink with you, I will drink with someone else. That's obvious. That's okay with that. So it is some kind of a swift, is some kind of a change, is some kind of a different pattern, different place you're gonna be. And that is difficult as well, because on the beginning, when the people stop drinking, them triggers are showing all over the places because you did not expect it. Okay, you are, even if you're gonna listen to someone telling you about something or trying to show the new perspective, sometimes people have to go through the experience of something to truly see that or understanding, or they have to go through some situations and then they can reflect on them later to actually get to the to that thick skull of ours ahead, that, oh yeah, that's actually happening, right? So there's many things around you, and you have to look closely and be very, very kind of a vicious, like a sniper. You have to just scan the area, scan what's happening around you, and be very, very close to yourself in perspective, that looking at you and looking definitely what could very easily take you to the drinking, or because at the end of the day we are like that bunch of emotions. That's where the people are. Human beings are nothing else but Emotions, and everything is about emotions. How do you feel? And how do you feel? It gets later to the point how you behave. And then everything depends as well on individual, right? Because some people, let's say, get angry very quickly. Some people don't really care. Some people constantly happy, and then kind of things are taking you faster or slower towards the drinking anyway, right? Because you might have someone who's, let's say, 300 days away from alcohol, and he's going fine and he's going okay and he's happy that he doesn't drink. And then you have the same person on the other side of the bridge, which goes 300 days without the alcohol, and they miserable through that time like never. What's happened? What's the difference? The point of view, the different lifestyle, or maybe any other things? Maybe the way how you look on the stuff. You put down on the table the glass, which is half, half of the glasses with water. Someone's gonna see half empty. Someone's gonna see half full. The end of the day is the same amount of water. It's just a question how you look at it. And some people maybe after 3 days will break for drinking because they're gonna be kind of in that stress that they cannot drink. Maybe they haven't realized yet that they understand alcohol is not good for them, but the triggers are pushing them to cravings, and they constantly every day walking with them cravings, and they actually in that kind of a situation that they very close to break, where you have someone who's on the other side is thinking that he's more happy that he's far, far, far away from that alcohol. Is that failure on that one? Try. I mean, it's like difficult to say. I don't know. I don't know. That's why the sobriety is very, very personal. There's many similarities in our behaviors. There's many similarities in our characters. And it's just like it's very difficult to say. It's nothing what's gonna be right and wrong, because you have to experience that. You have to go through that. It's difficult. It is an investment. Healthy lifestyle, maybe more money, maybe some people are stopped drinking, they still in a bad kind of a shape. They their lifestyle did not change much. Maybe they don't even have the money because of them not drinking. So there's many things, but anything when you start on the beginning, you have to take in consideration them triggers, especially if someone goes on a cold turkey and you're not going through any therapies. So you know it's gonna be like getting to know yourself, because I would say when you stop drinking, you are becoming like a newborn, because you kind of learning life again, and this time you are learning the life without alcohol, which is completely different journey. And because you've been so much with drinking, that's why there is something challenging about it. Not about only the just quitting alcohol itself and fighting with them cravings, with them triggers and everything, but actually getting to the point when you actually realize that you started new life, because that change is happening internally within you rather than outside. Whatever happens outside because of you not drinking alcohol is nothing else. It's just only the results of it. So that's how the alcohol addiction is changing us, and it takes us pretty much away from ourselves. I hope this video was beneficial for you. Maybe give you some more understanding on any trouble and stuff. If you're interested with more, you know what to do. I wish you sober week, sober evening, sober month, or a sober the rest of the life, whatever you wish through. And I hope you're gonna find your kind of a way when on the end you can say that you're happy, you are with your sobriety. And remember, if anyone did it, so you can do it, and you can be the king or a queen of sobriety yourself. Take care of yourself. I'll see you later.